Shall we? Okay. Good evening. Calling to order the District 28 School Board meeting. It is 7:06 on June 24th. Please call the roll.
Yep. Member Fonselter.
Here.
Member Beeftank.
Here.
Member Horowitz.
Here.
Member Baser.
Here.
Member Arms.
Here.
And Member Silvershack.
Here.
And absent is Member Weinstock.
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to start with visitors' comments. Is there anybody here who would like to speak? All right. The microphone is for recording purposes only, so you will not hear your voice amplified, but
Okay.
Please speak into it.
That's
Thank you.
perfect. I'm fine with that. Thank you. Well, good evening, first of all. I know a few of you, but maybe some of you do not know me. So I want to take this chance to introduce myself. My name is David Ramirez. I am the Food Service District Manager for Organic Life. And on behalf of my Organic Life team, I would like to take this opportunity to express a heartfelt gratitude for being part of such an incredible district. This is my second year serving for District 28, and it has been an absolute privilege. And we are deeply thankful to be among a community with a superintendent, CFO, school board, and parents who are so deeply invested in the well-being and the education of their children. This year, I want to share with you something that I am very proud of. We achieved a remarkable milestone by serving more meals than ever before. On behalf of the entire Organic Life team and my team that serves in this building, I want to say thank you. Thank you for your trust and thank you for your support. And I want to wish all of you a very nice summer.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That is a wonderful surprise to have you here. Thank you so much.
I thought of you might be the first Organic Life team.
Yes, thank you very much. And I can tell you, I've had three kids go through the district. My middle one is at the junior high now, and prefers the Organic Life option to a bag lunch from home, by far. So yes. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your work and your service to our district. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome to stay, and you don't have to. It's generally a riveting meeting. Some might say, some might not, but.
I kind of want to hear about the buildings.
Oh, great. Excellent. Thank you. All right. Okay. Well, then moving on to superintendent's report.
Well, thank you very much. Just a couple of items that I want to update you on tonight. First, we will talk a little bit about construction. The fact that David's here, I will mention that his kitchen is about to get torn up completely, and we're going to get to redo that for him as we think about a transition to hot lunch being available at all of our schools in the next couple of years. So you're here at a really good time because you're going to be able to be a part of that process and helping us design that space and ensure that it meets the needs of our schools, not just now, but for the future as well. So that will be very exciting. I want to talk first about Meadowbrook School this evening. As you are aware, we are in the process of working with the village to apply for a variance on a couple of issues for the Meadowbrook gym construction. You may have also heard that there has been some discussion in the community as well as some concerns expressed from some of the neighbors whose property are immediately adjacent to the Meadowbrook School property. And as a matter of fact, this evening at the village board meeting, they are taking up the matter as an ordinance, and hopefully it will be approved so we'll be able to move forward. But I wanted to just make sure that everyone understood kind of what we're asking for in this particular case and what some of the issues are around the construction. The first thing is we're asking for a variance that is related to operating a school on the property. Currently, we are considered a non-conforming use because The property is zoned, is not zoned for schools, but because the school has been in operation since 1955, the new zoning requirements in Northbrook came into place in 1988. We were grandfathered in and were able to continue to operate a school as a non-conforming use. However, when you do any kind of major improvement to the facility on the property, you then have to bring everything up to code. And so that includes the code that identifies the zoning for that property. And so the first thing that we are asking from the village is, of course, to be approved to have a special permit to operate the school on the property because we are making the improvements. So that's the first question that's before the village this evening that they'll be voting on. The second question that is in place is there's a loading dock requirement in the zoning ordinance that has been problematic for quite some time in Northbrook. They are in the habit of approving a variance on that requirement for many projects in the community, so much so that the new zoning requirements that the village is currently in the process of reviewing that will be approved in the next couple of months. I think we heard last week at Planning Commission that they're looking kind of to an August, September adoption cycle for those new zoning requirements. That the new requirements will no longer have the loading dock requirement. So they are often granting that variance for different groups that are trying to build in the village. So that's the other thing we're asking for is a variance on the loading dock requirement. With it being just a gym, we really don't want to put a loading dock there, and we certainly will be thinking about loading docks when we talk about the rest of the school construction, but at this point we are not. The other thing that is on the table is, of course, just approval of the site plan. And when they're approving the site plan, they're really just answering the question, do we meet the zoning requirements for that property? And we are in compliance with everything, including the setback that is required. We don't need a variance for that. So everything that we are proposing as a part of the gym project meets the village requirements. We've been working with them since January on those requirements to ensure that we were in compliance and were able to move forward in a way that meets all of the expectations of the village. So the controversy that is kind of has emerged really relates to the proximity of the gym to some of the adjacent properties. There's a requirement that anything on the property is at a minimum of 40 feet from the property line. The gym setback is 47 feet from the property line, and as you can remember, we have to place the gym there because when we build the new school, it has to be around the current building on the Meadowbrook property, and so the gym is positioned in a way that it fits on the property and connects nicely to the current building, but more importantly, it allows us to expand the school and build the new school adjacent to the gymnasium. The other question that has come up is why are we moving forward with the gym now and not just waiting to move forward with the entire school all at the same time? And I think we have known for quite some time that there are space concerns at Meadowbrook School. It causes issues every day with the instructional program when we think about trying to accommodate the number of sections that are in that building, as well as the feeding students for lunch in the cafeteria, and then of course the gym space is not adequate for the number of students that are there, and so that also causes some issues with scheduling. You may also be aware that periodically, depending on the number of sections in the building, we're having to have Spanish on the cart, we're having to have gifted and talented share space with other classrooms, and so it's not optimal for us to continue to operate in that way. And as you remember, we decided to move forward with the gym whether or not the referendum passed, and we wanted to make sure that we were able to meet the needs of the students in that school, and that the program that we have there is equitable to what we're providing in our other buildings. That was really important. And even one more year of us having the gym in place and being able to provide that level of programming for those students is beneficial. And so the reason that we are moving forward with the gym is because that has been the plan all along. And we were very transparent through the referendum process that that was what we wanted to do. That's the promise that we made to the community. If you look at all of the drawings and graphics that we presented as a part of that process, it was very clear. The gym was complete on the property. The adjacent building was in the concept design. And so, you know, it was obvious that that was the plan, including where it is located on the property. We certainly understand the frustration that people feel as things change in their neighborhood. We believe that what we're building and what we're going to provide is going to be an improvement for the entire community and certainly for the instructional program that we have at Meadowbrook. So it's really important that we are able to move forward. We are working very hard to try to address some of the questions that have come up from the community. As you may know, we did have a meeting with all of the neighbors a couple of weeks ago just to make sure that they were up to date on the construction as well as the timeline for that. I think that honestly that was one of the things that kind of accelerated some of their concerns because as we started to reveal the plan, they started to realize kind of how impactful it will be in the area. I think a couple of the things that have come up that we are working hard to address, one is just construction traffic and construction parking. So of course there will be a construction zone on the property. Joel and Jessica and the architects and I met with the construction company that will be completing the project, which is HAP Builders. And we walked the property with them and we figured out kind of what makes the most sense as far as construction traffic is concerned, as well as parking. We told the builders that they can't park on Marcy Lane or the adjacent cul-de-sac, that we actually are working on a plan to either provide some parking on the property and then potentially some off-site parking there where there will be a shuttle for construction workers to be able to be shuttled to the work site and then back to their vehicles in the evening. So we are trying to address some of those concerns. The other thing that has come up is just right now there are paths from Meadowbrook that connect the school property to the neighborhood. So there's one on Marcy Lane, there's one on Shagbark, which is the cul-de-sac. And people have heard that we're going to take those away. We aren't taking those away. The reality of a construction zone on that property, though, is that there may be times where they'll have to be closed for a short term for construction traffic, just for everyone's safety. The last thing we need is a child riding their bike through there and there also being some construction work happening, and we just want to make sure everyone is safe. We have talked to the construction company about providing us a path by fencing those connections so that it can be used part of the time during the construction project, and we certainly are going to try to accomplish that with the builders during this process. So, you know, one of the challenges of construction, and we all know this if you've driven anywhere in the city lately, I think every street in town is under construction. There are some inconveniences, but on the back side of that, there will be significant improvements for our schools. So we are looking forward to that going forward. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have about Meadowbrook and the process. Of course, we are moving forward with the other three buildings. We had meetings right at the beginning of June with the architects, and we had staff in to just talk about the needs and the plan for those spaces. Greenbrier and Westmore and the junior high, they're in kind of site development right now, and we'll be bringing some additional plans to the Buildings and Grounds Committee to talk about next steps with those properties. So does anyone have any questions about kind of what's going on tonight before we move forward? Great. All right, wonderful. Well, let me talk about another exciting topic, which is True North. As you know, this evening we have on the agenda a resolution for us to consider withdrawal from True North. I mentioned previously, and I have shared with you via email, that this process for us has been accelerated because basically all of the districts in the co-op are considering withdrawal, and we really are talking about ultimately a dissolution of the True North Cooperative. I think the most important thing for us to know and to think about as a district and as a board is that any student that is receiving services with True North, we are going to make sure that we are able to continue to provide educational opportunities for them. Our special education director, Dr. Scullis, has been working closely with the other special education directors both in our township, but then there also will be a meeting coming up with the special ed directors from all 18 of the True North districts to really talk about kind of tiered services. So what I mean by that is kind of what we currently are offering within our district to support students that have needs, what we currently are doing outside of our district to support students that we could potentially do within the district, what we are doing outside of the district right now that we could potentially do in partnership with other districts, including other Northfield Township districts, and then what we are currently doing or providing for services that we would need to plan for that we currently don't know how we would meet those needs once the co-op dissolves. Simultaneous to that process, the superintendents are working with a small task force, and I was lucky enough to be appointed to that group. We had a meeting this morning, and we were talking about what is going to potentially be a 3-year off-ramp for True North, and then how we rebuild the services that are in that top tier, which is the things that districts need that they're currently not able to provide, either cooperatively or within their district. And it's interesting because many of those services are the same for every district. What I think will ultimately emerge is a new co-op. That has a different focus, a different leadership structure and governance structure, and more than likely a different pricing model for districts so that it is more affordable but still provides the high quality learning experiences for students at True North that we have come to expect and that we want to be able to provide to our families. So the most important thing to know is that this is a long process. This next year, everything is exactly the same as it was this past year at True North. They will continue to provide the services that they have provided in the past. We commit very early in the year, December, January timeframe, to what services we need True North to provide for the coming year, and so that was done back in the winter months, and we will move forward with those services for the coming school year. What we are going to be doing is, as that is happening, we will be working together to plan kind of what the next steps look like as we think about kind of a 3-year off-ramp for all of the districts in the co-op and building a new structure. So I will have more information to share with you at that time. The matter that is before you tonight is really the process that we have to go through to begin to talk about withdrawing from the co-op. So every district has to, by June 30th, approve a resolution and they really have to notify True North of their intent to consider withdrawal. It doesn't mean we're withdrawing, although it does in this case because all districts are walking through the process. But in the typical process, it doesn't necessarily mean that a district is withdrawing. All it means is that we're going to begin to study that withdrawal, and then we have until December to make a formal decision that we are moving forward with withdrawal. So as we continue to operate under the Articles of Agreement in True North and try to walk through the process as that is defined, we are simultaneously working to try to change the Articles of Agreement or vote. The Leadership Council may actually vote to dissolve the co-op, at which point we would switch paths and follow that path forward in a planning process. What we ask the Leadership Council to do is provide a 3-year off-ramp, which I've already mentioned. So it will be a 3-year planning process that we would engage in to see what things would look like 3 years from now. So, but tonight you have resolutions from a couple of districts who passed their resolution already this month, and so they're ready to be approved. And then, of course, we are approving our own resolution. Our resolution is just the intent to withdraw. So unlike some of the other districts that are a little further along in the process where they're already saying we are withdrawing, we need other districts to approve the resolution. Our resolution tonight is just to say we're going to study this and we kind of reserve the right to withdraw if to meet the June 30th deadline. And so our resolution will not go to the other districts to be approved. That would be done in December if we decide to continue on this path. So that was a lot of information that's kind of complicated because we're kind of following two different paths. I want to just reiterate, our number one priority is ensuring that we are able to have continuity of services for our students and families that are currently receiving services with True North. And so that's going to be at front of mind in our conversation as we move forward. And Dr. Scullis, I didn't know if you wanted to just add anything to that, because I know you've been working closely with your colleagues before we move forward and answer any questions.
As Dr. Pearson mentioned, I've had an opportunity to come together with the directors in Northfield Township, starting with the elementary directors, including 27, 30, 31, and 34. 34, as you are aware, already stepped through the process to withdrawal and really has gone through a very deep, comprehensive process in the last 2 years. We did not, in this initial meeting, include District 225 because they're going through a transition of their director. We'll have a new director join their team on July 1st, so we'll start to involve the new director in our conversation following that date. We started with really looking at two guiding questions and thinking about what supports and services might we consider sharing, so to build a common understanding of what are our needs across the township districts, and then what would we need to consider when we think about oversight and supervision if there are things that we would share under our intergovernmental agreement. We took a deep look at our related service needs across the districts, and I can say positionally, I think here in District 28, we're in a really good position because many of our related service providers, psychologists, social workers, speech language pathologists, and many others are in-house already, whereas some of the other elementary districts have used and accessed those supports through True North most recently. We have very few related services, though, that we're currently accessing. Then we took a look at our programs that we're accessing, and that's a place where there's the highest level need across our member districts within the township, particularly as we look at programming at Arbor, where we serve several of our students across the township who have autism and have pretty significant communication needs. Then North Shore Academy Elementary and North Shore Academy for students who have more significant social emotional needs and behavior needs. So those are areas programmatically that we feel like we need to have much more analysis to what would it take to support the students that are currently in those programs. And I would say that across the elementary districts, with exception to 34, which again had already gone through the withdrawal process, the other elementary districts all have a high need to have some level of program to support students, as we do currently. Then we also started to then think about what are some things that we think could be potential opportunities where we could have some shared services. And again, this is just a preliminary list and where we started to engage in conversation, looking possibly at assistive technology. Currently, the districts at the elementary level access assistive technology coaching, as well as augmentative and alternative communication coaching. So we see that that may be an area that we could share across the districts. Transportation is another area for many of us that for our students who receive specialized transportation that we would consider potentially partnering together for addressing transportation needs. Then District 34 recently went through a process to purchase what is called the PAYS Lab, which is called the Practical Assessment of Exploration System. And it's really a hands-on vocational training system and a program that helps you to really look at employment potential for some of our students. We currently are accessing the PAYS Lab at True North, but as we were talking with the director from District 34, she said something we may want to consider certainly would be closer to District 28 and to the other elementary districts to partner with them. You have to purchase a very comprehensive system, which they've already stepped through, but maybe we could go into District 34 to access those services versus going to True North, where we currently are. So that's something we feel like we could explore even sooner. Again, not this next year, because we already have a commitment to using the PAYS Lab, but that might be one that we could make a sooner shift. Then another area we talked about was our job alikes, for example, occupational therapists, physical therapists, because there are so few in each of the districts, to have an opportunity for them to come together and do learning together and to have a network where they can be a group, whereas we don't have as many that can come together in some of the individual districts. Beyond that, we spent a pretty significant amount of time talking about the coaching services that we access and the professional learning services we access. And in professional learning, we said even in the short term, we'd like to improve our communication around what we're offering across our elementary districts, so that way we can start to tap into what other districts are doing. If we are offering something to our staff and student services that we can open up to another district, we can start doing that now, because there's no reason to expand that kind of horizon for each district. And then we spent time talking about extended school year. I will say that there was some eye on District 28 because we have our own extended school year program where many of the member districts do not, and they use True North services currently. So they kind of perked up when they said, oh, District 28 would maybe be the ones to start looking at our programming. So we might think about maybe expanding our programming. And then we really rounded things out by talking about community-based instruction, because currently we're working with True North, but over the time since I've been here, I've seen our staff really take an increased role in leadership in that with our teachers and our assistants that are going into the community. So how might we continue to do that within districts versus tapping into other resources? And then, as Dr. Pearson said, we have another meeting coming up. July 9th is when we're coming together with the directors across the cooperative to really take the information we talked about. Other districts and smaller groups have been having similar conversations, but then to bring it all together as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's important just to reiterate that the districts that are in the co-op right now, all 18 districts, are still looking for some kind of cooperative relationship to share services. The special education landscape has changed significantly in the last decade, including the number of programs and places for outplacement, the expectations of districts, the kinds of programs that we're housing internally. And so it really is, although it's scary to think about the change, it really is a nice opportunity to really have a fresh look at how we're working together. And I see it as a chance for us to really improve the programs and services that we're providing cooperatively. There's tremendous strength and expertise in the districts that we're talking about across the North Shore, and I am very confident that we're going to be able to come up with something that I think will even be better and will be kind of the next generation of cooperative relationships for districts as we think about having these shared services across our townships. So it's a lot of work, and but like I said, I'm on the small committee. There are 5 of us that are working through this to bring back to the larger group, and I'm very encouraged by the conversations that we've had so far and the potential that it provides us going forward. So there's not a lot of detail other than what I've shared, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on that topic as well.
So I have a question. You've mentioned kind of forming sort of a new cooperative. Would that involve, I know currently True North involves 18 districts. Would this kind of new vision, would that just be Northfield Township, or would that include other districts further out?
So I think there's a potential that it could look different. Mm-hmm. I think right now everyone's in the boat. And I think in the new structure, it could be more a set of interconnected rings, where perhaps our township is providing some services within the township, and perhaps we are partnering with New Trier Township for another sliver of services, and perhaps we are working with the Niles Special Education Co-op for another type of service. So I see it as more, instead of everyone being on the same page, that we kind of are more connected in a different way through the networks that we need that best support the needs that are in front of us. And it makes sense when you think about kind of the how much of a service a district may need and kind of the size of our districts, that there would be kind of some kind of shared structure. Unfortunately, just the way that True North was designed, and again, we're talking about a co-op that was established some 60 years ago, that structure is different than what we probably need going forward. And it's becoming very, very expensive for districts to maintain their membership. And they're really having to rethink whether or not that's what they need, so.
It sounds to me like moving forward, this is where the goal is sort of a more financially, something that sort of considers finances and what we need more carefully than it seems to be like a very big umbrella right now.
It is a big umbrella, and everyone has to be in the
Right,
boat.
right.
You know, and not everyone has the same need. So I think it really is something that's more responsive to the needs, and it's prioritizing the needs of the districts and the needs of the students in those districts, and trying to design a structure that can flexibly respond to those, because from year to year, it changes. What a district need changes based on the student population that's in their district, as well as the staff that you're able to provide locally and the programs that you're able to provide locally. So it's variable, and we need a structure that can be, you know, very quickly responsive to that variability and the needs of the districts. Yes.
And also, I mean, I know True North offers that, the North Shore Academy, but, you know, we've also used a lot of other therapeutic placements that have been more appropriate for our students that have required services that are outside of our environment within our schools.
Correct. And I again, I think that's an important consideration. We want to match the student with the program and make sure that our students are able to access programming that is right for them. And because of that, you're exactly right. We have access other therapeutic programs or other day programs. I will say it is becoming harder to place students in those programs because many of them have closed since the pandemic. They're hard to operate. They're very expensive to operate. And so I think that's one of the things when we talked about those tiers of services that the member districts of True North have said, look, we still need, as a cooperative or as a group of districts, to have some kind of programming that looks like NSA, NSAE, and Arbor. Those three programs are, although all of us have had students that have participated in other programs that are like that, we still have a need to have students placed in a program that is like that going forward.
I have a question for Kelly. So you mentioned coaching and professional learning. So is our staff getting that kind of training from True North staff? Can you just say a little bit more about that? And then also community-based instruction, like what that is?
Sure. So as far as the coaching support that we receive, we have multiple coaches that are employed through True North that come in and spend part of their week here in District 28. So for example, at the junior high, we have a coach who's here a half a day a week. She's supported our initiatives around professional learning at MBJH, centered on co-teaching, and she does some direct work with teams and teachers, and that's expanding this next school year as we've increased the numbers of teachers that are going through co-teaching. So she does some on-site work in meetings with them, and then does some individual going into classrooms and working with pairs there. So her primary focus is on the co-teaching. She also, this last school year, built a new strand of asynchronous learning for us around trauma-informed practices. Every year, our student services staff is required to do a four-hour training, and she built a new structure for us to do that this year. We have another coach who comes in across all of our buildings, and it's based on need. She's connected to our foundational classrooms, as well as expanded her support and services, working with some of the teachers currently at Meadowbrook and some of the teachers at the junior high, and has ebbed and flowed some and doing some work at Westmore as well. That work is direct work with teachers, really looking at individual student needs and supporting resource identification, planning. She does some side-by-side observation of students with teachers to give them direct coaching feedback in the moment with students. And that has been going on since the transition of the foundational program coming to the district. I'd mentioned augmentative and alternative communication. We have a coach who works with the district, 0.3, which comes out to
One and a half days a week.
Yeah, thank you. A day and a half. She comes in, primarily does work right now in our foundational program, as well as work in early childhood in our structured classes.
So like training the teachers and then doing also the work itself so that they
It's-
are not doing it?
No, right, it's really training and supporting the teachers, so coaching the teachers in the work that they're doing. With the augmentative and alternative communication coach, though, she is really helping to identify resources and tools to support communication with students, also helping on that evaluation thread with students to identify what are the right tools and resources to use. Then does the coaching and teaching of the adults working with the students, and then through gradual release backs herself out. But we have several students in the district who do have higher level communication needs where they need higher level communication supports, whether that be a device or core boards or other tools. So she's helping staff both identify and then implement.
How to use, okay.
Yeah. And then we also have a small amount of coaching support related to assistive technology, and that coach is across all of the buildings dependent upon student need. And then your
What is community-based?
community-based instruction.
Instruction.
All of our students in the foundational program, so the 3 classes at Greenbrier and the 2 classes here at the junior high, participate in community-based instruction where based on their individual goals in their individualized education programs, they look to application of their skills out in the community. So for example, if students are working on building their skills around money, they go out into the community and they practice using the money, whether that's kind of building that budget of how much money do I need to take with me to go out into the community, then going out and practicing paying for something, the process of getting the change back. They have community outings where they are also focused on their social skill development within their peer group, out in the community with other individuals. At the elementary level, they go out once a month. Here at the junior high level, they go out twice a month for each student. And we have staff that go out with them, both teachers and assistants, and then sometimes related service staff
So
as well.
what is the True North person doing versus like the staff?
Yeah, so
It's
it's
confusing.
it's interesting. We've done kind of an analysis of that. So right now, True North, they coordinate all of the transportation is one of the key things they coordinate. But their person that their driver is also trained in community-based instruction. So the driver is also steps into, once that they get to their location, is one of the educators in the process with students. But what we're finding as a district, and we found this before any of this conversation around this transition with True North, that our staff is becoming that much stronger in their skills as they're going out into the community that we need less of the True North support anyway.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions that I can answer for you? My guess is we will have this as an agenda topic quite a bit going forward as we work through the process, and I'm providing you with updates, and we are continuing to analyze our program. Ultimately, if with the approval of tonight's resolution, you as a board will be getting a report from Student Services that outline kind of the priorities of the district and kind of our plan for moving forward that will be coming as part of the process. All right, and that completes the superintendent's report. Oh, no, it does not. I have one other thing to say. I just wanted to mention tonight, we've had lots of opportunity to celebrate and recognize Terry Ryan over the past month or so, but I did not want to let tonight pass without mentioning that it is her final board meeting with us, as she is looking forward to, in just a few days, retiring. I think I've heard lots of laughter in her office the last couple of days. There has been a pep in her step. I think she is very excited about her next phase of life. But I want to reiterate, and I think I mentioned this at Celebrate 28, but I think it's really important to acknowledge, as I came into the district, there were things we wanted to work on and some things that we had hoped to change. And really in the last 3 years, we've covered a lot of ground. as a district as we think about our facility master plan, the community engagement process that we went through, the referendum process that we went through, and all of the things that have happened related to that, and just the communication that is required for that to be successful. Not to mention that we completely changed our website and really refurbished that and refreshed that. As you well know, she is an award-winning member of the national organization with her publications and communications, and really stepped up at a time when, you know, you might kind of start to slow down in your work. We really pushed right to the end, and it's been quite impressive to watch her. So she will be very missed in our district, and we are so grateful to her for what she has contributed. And as we think about just the changes that are coming with the referendum and the improvement of our facilities, I see that her time with us is an investment and a legacy that she leaves with us going forward. So Terry, thank you for all that you've done for us. We are eternally grateful, and we wanted to make sure we had a chance to recognize you this evening. So congratulations.
Well, thank you, Dr. Pearson and board members. I do want to say I am grateful for the opportunity and the privilege to have worked in District 28. You all are a very thoughtful and committed group of board members that approaches every issue with the best interests of the students at heart. And I'm thrilled for the path that the district is on, and I can't wait to come back and see those beautiful new schools. Thank you.
And Terry, just a little anecdote for you. My son, who's now in high school, he would come home from school when he was a junior in the junior high, and he would say, "There's this lady. She's always there taking pictures." So you were very, your presence was known. You made a difference. The kids noticed, and thank you very much for you've been here for 10 years, which is as long as my kids have been in the district. So I don't know anybody else in your position but you, and there certainly leave big shoes to fill, but I'm confident that our next person will rise to the occasion, of course. But thank you for your 10 years here.
Well, Evan was very active.
He
so
was
yes,
very
he was
active,
doing a lot
and
of
he is
stuff.
vocal. And
So-
I did kind of put in your ears a few years ago that my kids were not in enough pictures. So I know you.
I think it was the
Okay.
first day photo contest you were taking
The first
issue
day
with.
code. Yeah, I thought we had a really good photo, and yeah. But then I realized it was my mistake. I tagged it wrong. So yeah.
Well,
All
thank
right,
you.
so thank you.
I think, I've spent some time with Samantha this week, and you are in very capable hands, and she's going to do a great job. And I'm thrilled to pass the torch, so to speak.
Now that completes the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Dr. Pearson.
Yes.
Moving along to approval of minutes. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting for May 27th, 2025?
So moved?
Second?
Please call the roll.
Member Beeftink,
Aye.
Member Harms.
Aye.
Member Von Zelter,
Aye.
Member Horowitz,
Aye.
Member Baser,
Aye.
and President Silvershack.
Aye. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to pull out of the consent agenda? Okay. And let's see, who had the bills?
Me.
Yes.
Everything was great. Jessica's not here. In case anybody had a question about why there was that last one that came separately, it was because everything was prepared on Wednesday, and then a couple people were out on everything was closed down on Thursday, and then a couple people were out on Friday. But then they did want to get a couple last things in yesterday because it was the end of the fiscal year. So it was just trying to get a couple last final things wrapped up. And then the other note that you may notice, there were a whole bunch of months of bus transportation bills in there because the transportation companies are not always completely on top of getting their invoices in when Jessica would like them to. But those are the only things that might stand out to you, but everything else looked great. And none of that's weird. It just might look a little weird.
Okay. Thank you for the explanation, Beth.
Sure.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved? Second.
Call the roll, please.
Member Baser.
Aye.
Member Arms.
Aye.
Member Von Zelter.
Aye.
Member Beef Tank.
Aye.
Member Horowitz.
Aye.
And President Silvershack.
Aye. Moving on to staff and committee reports. We will start with finance.
Jessica asks that you approve her financial report. She is,
Yes.
of course, representing us at the village board meeting tonight, so she's not with us.
Okay. And I assume if there are any questions on the finance report, Dr. Pearson, you can answer. Are there are there any questions, comments from the board? Okay, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the finance report?
So moved.
Second.
Roll, please.
Member Beef Tank.
Aye.
Member Baser.
Aye.
Member Arms.
Aye.
Member Von Zelter.
Aye.
Member Horowitz.
Aye.
And President Silvershack.
Aye. Moving on to human resources.
Just want to share that our hiring is still well underway, and we're just trying to get through placement for as many of our open positions as we can. And that's all at this time.
Fantastic.
Can I
Any
ask,
que-
how many positions are currently open?
For our, if you look on our website, we probably have about 20. At this time, though, we do have some candidate pools that have been developed, especially for our elementary teaching positions and our instructional assistant positions. And some of our other harder to fill positions, we're hoping to generate a much deeper candidate pool.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And for this point in the year, in the summer, is this typical?
Very much so. The good news is we have fewer personnel to hire compared to last year. So it should be, we're hoping that even though we have more positions that are harder to fill, we're still early on in the process. And so we just want to keep making progress, trying to reach as many candidates as we can, and hire the best people that we can.
Of course. And what positions are the harder to fill ones?
The related services
Yes.
personnel,
Yeah.
the school psychologist,
Right.
speech path positions
Okay.
are a little tougher.
Okay.
Smaller candidate pool.
Yes, yes, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, student services. Anything else you'd like to add?
Just briefly, the end of this weekend, Friday, will bring a close to our summer programming, academic boost, enrichment, and extended school year. And just a shout out to anyone who's out there listening. A lot of staff dedicate a lot of time and energy, but it seems that things are coming to a good close.
Yes. I don't have any, none of my children are in the summer school program this summer they're at overnight camps, but they have a bunch of friends who are, and I keep hearing what a fantastic offering of classes they have this summer, and what a fantastic program it is. And now that my kids all go to overnight camp, that is the one thing that they feel like they miss, is not being able to do the summer programming here, because it is so fantastic. So thank you to all involved. Moving on, teaching and learning.
We had about 3 weeks of wonderful professional learning in June, and now we'll take a few weeks off until we get back at it about the 3rd week in July. So we sure appreciate all of our staff members who have been leading our learning, and we've had a wonderful turnout for our sessions. So it's been a wonderful few weeks.
And buildings and grounds. Let's see, we had our buildings and grounds meeting last week. Myself and Beth and Jessica and Jason were there. Jason, would you like to? You gave a good, pretty comprehensive report on that already. So please see superintendent's report. Moving on, legislation.
Nothing new to report on that right
All
now.
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because,
Yes.
remember, right, they're not in session.
Right, they're not in
so,
session this
yeah.
summer. Yeah, yeah.
There are a lot of bills that are
Yes.
awaiting the governor's
Awaiting,
signature.
yes.
So we will have, I'm sure, a robust update
Right, very
coming
soon.
very soon.
Mm-hmm. And policy. There was a policy meeting yesterday, I believe.
There
Yes.
was.
Yes.
Yes, we met yesterday, and it was very interesting. It was my first time on the committee, as was.
That's mine.
Yes, and so, and we've been told, it was fascinating just to see how the changes are made to update with existing legislation and recommended language. But as Jason said, we're going to be expecting to have quite a bit to approve in the coming months when as new legislation is signed off.
So the policy updates that we reviewed yesterday will be on the July board agenda. So you'll be looking for those in July.
Great. Communication. Terry, take it away for one final time.
Well, I think a lot of the contents of my report has been covered as well. I've been involved in facilitating some communication with the Meadowbrook neighbors and coordinating the information from Dr. Pearson and Jessica, and we will continue to make information available on the website as it is appropriate to share those questions and answers. There's also, it's hard to believe that graduation was in this month because it seems like it was last year at this point. But we did celebrate a lot of our class of 2025 accomplishments earlier this month and shared those in the media and social media. And yeah, construction and my final report. So this board briefs will be the last, and I hand it off to the very capable hands of Samantha Scheinman.
Thank you, Terry. And, back to True North. Anything actually now we have an action item, right? Yes.
So we have all the resolutions for withdrawal.
Yes, so we're putting them all together. No? They're separate? Okay. All right, so each one, so A, B, C, and D are separate?
Yeah, the first one is ours.
As ours, yes, that's what I figure. Okay, so resolution, notice of intent to withdraw, action item, that's ours for District 28. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Oh, take it.
Member Baser?
Yes.
Member Arms?
Aye.
Member Fonzelter? Aye. Member Beefting?
Aye.
Member Horowitz?
Aye.
And President Silvershack?
Aye. Resolution for the proposed withdrawal of District 106 from the True North Cooperative 804. Motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Member Baser?
Aye.
Member Arms?
Aye.
Member Fonzelter? Aye. Member Beeftank?
Aye.
Member Horowitz?
Aye.
And President Silvershack?
Aye. And moving on, motion to approve the resolution for the proposed withdrawal of District 30 from the True North Cooperative 804.
So moved.
Second.
Member Baser?
Aye.
Member Beeftank?
Aye.
Member Horowitz?
Aye.
Member Arms?
Aye.
Member Fonzelter? Aye. And President Silvershack?
Aye. And finally, a motion to approve the resolution for the proposed withdrawal of District 109 from the True North Cooperative 804.
So moved. I'm going for the clean sweep.
Second. Okay. Member Baser?
So moved.
Member
Yes.
Fonzelter?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry. Member Beeftank?
Aye.
Member Horowitz?
Aye.
Member Arms?
Aye.
And Member Silvershack?
Aye.
President Silvershack?
Aye. These summer meetings are something, yeah. Okay, thank you. Is there any new business?
I have a question. Are we gonna talk about the workload? There's a memo in here on the workload.
Oh, the memo on the.
So the special ed workload plan is something that we just have to, the board has to approve and we periodically have to update. There was a law passed in 2010, maybe?
2009.
No,
and then
2009.
Briefly updated
Yeah.
in 2016.
Yeah, so it's just for us to be in compliance. Basically, it's the plan that we have as a district that we use to identify or to walk through with the union if there is a workload issue with our special education staff. As you know, our caseloads are variable based on the students' needs and when they come to us in the district. So it's the process that we use to work through that with them and figure out if the workload is appropriate or if they need additional support. It's statutorily required. We had one, we just updated it. So that's
Are
what
we
it
gonna
is.
vote on it?
It was in the consent agenda.
Consent, okay.
Mhm. Because it was already in place. It was just an update.
Just a reminder that this weekend is the NBGH graduate who earned his amateur technical general license.
Oh, wait, say that again.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
This weekend, the NBGH graduate, David Madison, who earned his amateur technical and general license and his amateur extra license, which I don't completely understand, but from this email, seems like a very big deal.
This is the ham
The
radio.
ham radio?
Yes, yes.
So we're gonna go, I'm gonna take my family this weekend to celebrate, but it looks like he and his family will be there at least from 1 to 4 on Saturday for anybody who's able to stop by.
And it's at Northfield Township, right?
Clarkson Park in
yeah.
Northfield, I don't know where that is, but, but it looks like there's gonna be food, a little celebration.
Very cool. What's that?
It's the one on Willow, is that really nice
With the
little park
gazebo.
here off of
Yeah, it's
Willow
cute.
near downtown Northfield?
It's gonna be like a field day, like a celebration, so.
That's very, very cool. My dad has been a ham radio operator since he was a kid. It's a very, very cool thing, kind of a lost art. So very cool to.
Tight community.
Yeah,
This is-
yeah. My dad still has his license, still does it. But it's a very small community. It's very cool to see to hear that there's a kid who's involved. So, all right, thank you for that, Beth. That's great. Any other new business? Okay, and we do not have any closed session today, not tonight. So we will adjourn the meeting at, it is 8 o'clock on the dot. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved. Second.
And then, can I do an all in favor? Is that what this is? Yes. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Didn't think so. All right, thank you. This meeting is adjourned at 8 o'clock.